Want to say thank you and welcome to our, oh, just realised my camera's off. Just both of us having technical difficulties already. I shall say thank you and welcome to our webinar called Empowering Teachers with Next Gen PD Resources with LINC. Today, where we've collaborated with our new partners at LINC, or Learning Innovation Catalyst, to present their award-winning professional development platform called LINC Spring and how it can support you in transforming your teaching practice. Before I go on to introduce our speakers from LINC today, I'll first introduce today's hosts. So first we have myself. My name is Parveen Bambara. I'm the Marketing Executive for Schools for UK and Europe. And then we have my colleague Afsana Akhtar, who is the Events Executive for the region. Before we get started with the session, I'll just pass over to Afsana so she can take you through a few housekeeping slides.
Thank you, Parveen. And just double check my sound is nice and clear. You can hear me? Perfect. So just before we begin, as Parveen mentioned, we'll just cover off a bit of housekeeping just to make sure the experience today for you all is as seamless as possible. So once you're in Zoom, I'm assuming everyone connected to the audio, I can see that we have, which is perfect. I would just recommend closing any high bandwidth apps whilst you're on the webinar, just to avoid any network issues. And you can't see other attendees, but you can use the chat box on the side to engage with other attendees and panelists. And you can do that by just selecting 2 panelists and attendees in the drop-down where it says 2. There will be a Q&A at the end, and the session will be recorded, and of course this will be provided as well afterwards. So as I mentioned, do engage with us. We can't put your videos or your audio on, but do use a chat box on the side, and then we have a Q&A box in the center as well, which you should be able to see on the bottom center of your screen. So please do use those to ask some questions, join in with the discussion, and any comments as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Afsana. Thank you for taking us through that. So now I'm going to pass over to our speakers for today. First, we have Scott Noon. He is the Vice President of Marketing and Sales Operations at LINC, and he will be leading the presentation today. And we're also joined by Asia Malik, the Director of International School Partnerships at LINC, who will be on hand to answer any questions you have throughout the session and at the end. So please don't be shy, drop your questions into the Q&A box as and when they come to you. Right, so we can begin. So over to you, Scott. So Afsana, do you mind just unsharing so Scott can share his slides?
Fantastic. Let me just grab my deck here real quick. We're off. Oops. Oh, goodness. All right, here we go. Let's try that again. Go. Oops, I'm sitting right in front of the McGraw Hill logo. I'm gonna have to move over just a little bit. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'd love to know a little bit more about who you are. So I would just invite you to open the chat room and introduce yourself and say hello to your colleagues who are working today. My colleague, Asia, is the person who leads our international school partnerships. And Asia will be in the chat room answering questions, but also sharing links to some of the resources that I share with you during the presentation today. So without any further ado, I'm going to start to dig into some of the content for you and just give you some background information about who we are at LINC, the Learning Innovation Catalyst. One of the big question that the founders were asking, and one of the problems that we wanted to address as the company was being built, is how do you create teacher professional development that actually improves, changes, shifts, and translates to classroom practice? You know, that's a tough question. In the United States, and I can't speak for all countries or school networks, but in the United States, we spend about $4 billion every year on teacher professional development, yet experts agree that almost none of it really impacts classroom practice. We don't see changes that come to teaching and learning as a result of having spent a lot of money on PD. And I'm sure if you are a school leader or a school network leader, you're just as frustrated because we spend a lot of money making sure that our employees, that our teachers, that our faculty, that our staff, that our educators are really top-notch in their skill set. And and where it's most important to see that those advancements is in the classroom, but for some reason it just doesn't make the jump. And partially that's because most of our teacher PD has been in the informative realm. Sorry about that. I work from home too these days during the pandemic, and my dogs occasionally go a little crazy when another dog goes walking by the house. Anyway, most of our teacher PD is in the informative realm. And that is, we're there to teach teachers about the new science, the new brain research, or new strategies, or about a new curriculum, a new math program we're offering. And really what we need in order to get change in the classroom is to shift our PD from this kind of informative approach to a transformative approach. And in order to make that shift, LINC developed a partnership with the lady you see on the screen. Her name is Dr. Arnitha Ball. And Arnitha is the author of the model of generative change. The model of generative change is based on 15 years of Stanford research that was designed to look at what is it that causes teachers to be particularly successful in culturally and linguistically complex classrooms. We have kids of different cultures, kids who speak different languages, kids who have very different learning styles and learning needs, and how do we help all of them to succeed? And in working with teachers for the 15 years of the Stanford research, she uncovered a process that we largely miss in teacher professional development that actually is highly impactful. And the first stage of that is in the white arrow is metacognitive awareness. Metacognitive awareness is the ability to reflect on one's own practice, to think about the work, or Philip Schlechty's book is called Working on the Work. It's thinking about teaching. What is it that we're trying to accomplish? Am I meeting the needs of all my students? Where am I strong as an educator? Where do I have growth areas as an educator? This metacognitive awareness is what helps an educator really begin to think about her teaching style or his teaching style. It's been said most teachers teach the way they were taught. And if that's the case, then nothing will ever change in education. So we need to model different kinds of strategies. We need to show different kinds of approaches to teaching and learning in the classroom so that teachers can try new things. So metacognitive awareness. So Dr. Ball likes to say to me, Scott, you remember, you can't shift practice until you shift mindset. That mindset about teaching itself is often what keeps teachers from advancing in their skill set. So metacognitive awareness is designed to help teachers become aware that there are other approaches to teaching than the one they're using. And so at that level, the next step is called ideological becoming. Ideological becoming is when a teacher gets a vision for a different kind of classroom, a different kind of learning experience. And so ideological becoming, let me give you an example. So most teachers have the mindset that my job as the educator is to teach the content. My job is content deliverer. I've got the education. These are students. They don't know the content. My job's here. I'm here to teach them the content. Well, that mindset is going to limit them into a content delivery kind of role rather than the role of an instructional designer. So a teacher in ideological becoming phase, for example, might say, well, what would happen if I stepped off the stage? If instead of being the one who delivers all the content, I'm an educator who designs engaging, personalized learning experiences for my students so that students can have more agency, more control, and the kids are going to have more responsibility for their work and more responsibility for their learning. I can shift into a new set of blended learning practices, for example, that actually allow me to spend more time with my students one-on-one or in small groups, because I'm not consumed with delivering the one-size-fits-all content to every student in the class. So that ideological becoming is a shift that happens in the minds of educators. And then following that is internalization. Internalization is the time that it takes you to learn a new skill. So internalizing, for example, is if you're a woodworker, you're likely to not produce the best superfine products this first time you do something. So, but you will get better at it. You will develop a sense of the craft. In the same way with instruction, as teachers try new things like flipped classrooms and blended learning and station rotation and whatever, we need to create a culture in our schools that allows for teacher innovation, number one, but also gives them time to get really good at it. And these things don't happen overnight. And so ideological becoming and internalizing is the next phase. And then it takes you off to generativity. And in the generativity stage, a generative teacher is a teacher who's constantly reflecting on practice, thinking about the needs of his or her students, trying new strategies, internalizing new strategies, but is constantly learning and growing and getting and giving feedback. So generative teacher, Dr. Ball likes to say, is a pedagogical problem solver. A pedagogical problem solver is a person who is a pedagogical problem solver is a person who is constantly doing a level of action reflection based on what's going on in her classroom. So those teachers are thinking about the work, they're thinking about the kids. I tried a new thing today. Are they being more engaged? Is the content more rigorous? Were the students able to actually learn how to go through station rotation without me guiding them, so that I could be in one of the stations working with kids in a small group, for example? So generativity is really becoming an action researcher, or as Dr. Ball calls it, a pedagogical problem solver. And so we built that same kind of user experience into the LINC platform. And in the LINC platform, the process is called Reflect, Tinker, Grow. Reflect is the metacognitive reflection piece already. You already said that. The second is what we call Tinker. And Tinker is trying something new. In the LINC platform, you're actually going to plan to try a new skill. So teachers don't do new skills in the classroom unless they embed them in lesson plans or plan to take action. And so that's what happens in the Tinker phase. And then taking action is the other part of that. It's not just planning to try maybe a flipped classroom or another skill, but it's actually, now that I've planned, using it with my students. And then finally, the last is grow. And this is a continuous improvement methodology. So grow is a time when teachers reflect on what they just did. How was it? Did it go well? Did the students receive it? Were all the students engaged? Which kids weren't engaged? What do we do for them? What can be done differently? What worked? What didn't work? What do I want to try next? So the grow process is all part of that. This, as you see in the diagram on the left, is reflect, tinker, grow with a, that taking action in the middle in there is a process. It's a process loop. And so for this reason, you'll discover that inside the LINC platform, all of the content, all of the learning modules are called cycles. Anytime you go through the reflect, tinker, grow process, you've completed a cycle. And so cycles are the learning objects in this PD platform. How do you use LinkSpring? Well, there are three most common use cases. One is one-on-one coaching. So one-on-one coaching, if your school has a coach, you have a professional coach, but it can even just be the supervision process of working with a teacher, or teachers doing peer support. Where a master teacher who's really good at blended learning skills might be, for example, working with other teachers. So one-on-one coaching cycle is easily supported in the platform I'm going to show you. The second is the small group supported PLCs. So a PLC stands for Professional Learning Community. So small group PLCs are very popular, and they were popularized about 15 years ago by Doug Reeves. And the concept behind professional learning network or professional learning community is that rising tide lifts all boats. And so as teachers work together, they hold each other accountable, they try new things, they ask each other, how did it go? So there's a sense of support and trying new things, and teachers collaborating on the development of those new things helps everybody try something new. So we find, by the way, that our very best approach comes when teachers work together in PLCs. And the other is large group blended workshops with coaching. So today I'm modeling very bad practice for you. So because I'm going to talk a lot, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. But I confess, right? So the large group workshop, remember I said earlier, the teachers often teach the way they were taught, and that is, well, then let's teach them some other way. And part of this is giving teachers opportunities to experience what does it mean to be in a blended environment? How do you lead that? How do we facilitate that? And so in a blended environment, teachers you can do a whole school workshop with your entire faculty if you know how to set it up, and you can use the LinkSpring platform to do that. So with that, that's the end of my introductory slides, and we're going to switch over here. I'm going to change screens, and I'm going to share with you LinkSpring. So this is what LinkSpring looks like when you first log in. The oops, I can't do that. Okay, so this is what LinkSpring looks like when you first log in, and there's a big pop-up that comes up as you start, and you're invited to make your own playlist. So I click on that, and it asks me a number of questions really about my goals, my learning objectives, what I want to learn, what I want to be able to do. And so I have set digital expectations. So these are about culture, capacity, learning, and technology. So culture has to do with classroom culture or school culture. Capacity has to do with my own skill set in terms of my more introductory level, more intermediate or advanced. And then learning is which strategies do I want to try? So I want to increase student agency. And then based on that is which of these best describes your goal with respect to use of tools and resources. These are about technology has to do with not about the laptops, but what kind of tools do I have for teaching students. And based on that, I'm going to skip this, and I'm going to go in, and based on that, there's an algorithm in the platform that makes a personalized playlist for each educator based on their learning goals. So they get 4 cycles that they are invited to begin doing. Now you can see up here in the right, they can add other cycles that they might be interested in to this playlist as well. And this is their personalized study plan, if you will. Now, why do we do this? Well, number one, we're trying to model personalization. I mean, the ultimate goal of all of this is to get teachers to be pedagogical problem solvers. The goal is to get teachers away from just being in content delivery mode into an instructional designer mode. And in order to model personalized learning, I'm actually giving these teachers things that they have asked, that they've said are their learning goals. So these are the things that they're most interested in, hopefully. The other reason why we do this, besides modeling personalization, is if you go to the cycle library, and I'm clicking over here on the left on cycles, and you see all of these titles, and there are pages and pages and pages of said titles. There are more than 100 cycles that you can access through the platform. And so it's a little overwhelming. So I invite you to, now Asia has put into the chat a link to the company website, which is linklearning.com. And LINC Learning is a little hard to remember. So just remember to spell it with a C. Link.com wasn't available, as you might imagine. So go to LINC Learning and you can learn all about who we are and what we do. Now, the LINC Spring platform is over here. This is our flagship product. So that's in the first position on the nav. But the second one down is LINC Spring Learning Libraries. Now, Asi will throw that link for you in the chat as well. The libraries, there are 3 libraries. The first one is the most popular. It's called the LINC Spring Essentials, and it's focused on blended learning and hybrid, remote pedagogy, tools that you should know and be able to use, project-based learning, teacher mindset and capacity, blended classrooms, PAC cycles, I'll show you more about that in a second, and assessment. This is 86 cycles that are focused on learning innovation in the classroom. I know one of the first questions you're going to ask me is like, you got this huge library of cycles, what all are you going to teach my teachers? And so these are all of the content areas, and I invite you to take a look. And there you'll see the name of the cycle, the learning objective, and what they will create at the end. What's the artifact that's going to be created. So with that, next, we'll go back here, and I'm just going to do a search on remote learning because so many of us are frustrated with remote learning. And here we go. So in the platform, you'll see a title of the workshop and the learning objective. And then down here, these are what cycles look like. First is this big guide, this purple guide walks us around, but right now it's framing what we call the Spark video. And then below it, you'll see the Reflect, Tinker, Grow. Those 3 blue boxes don't look like 15 years of Stanford research, but that's exactly what that is. Okay, so that model is embedded there. So let's talk about Spark video. Spark video is designed to begin shifting mindset. Remember, you can't shift practice until you. So I'm not going to play all 3 minutes of that, but the Spark video is really designed to let educators know the benefits, what's in it for them if they take on this cycle. How is it going to help them? Humans are like that. We want to know what's in it for me, right? So what's the benefit why am I learning this? You hear it from kids all the time in the classroom. Why are we learning this? Is this going to be on the test? You know, because they've learned that whatever's on the test is probably the most important stuff. Anyway, the Spark video is designed to get educators thinking about what the value of this new strategy is. And then following that, we move along to the Reflect process. Reflect is a set of questions designed to engage teachers in thinking about their own practices. So here we go, shifting to remote learning. Let's imagine it's March, the middle of March of 2020, and all of your schools are being shut down tomorrow. And teachers are shoved out the door with their laptop, and kids are suddenly given devices that we couldn't afford last week, but this week we have to. So now all of a sudden we've got all these laptops, And what in-person routines or activities are most important to maintain in the remote learning environment? You know, teachers know that on a day-to-day basis, those routines in the classroom are the centerpiece of classroom management. Centerpiece is a great way to manage discipline in the classroom. So now that you're going to work remotely, what are the routines going to look like, and how do we set those up with students? The disengagement rates for remote learning students has been astronomically high, unfortunately, and a lot of it has to do with just simple things like how am I supposed to talk to the teacher? How often do I talk to the teacher? What are the routines I'm supposed to do? What will happen to me? Where do I log in? What's the LMS that I'm using? What are the lesson responses? How much time should I spend? All of those kinds of questions that come out of remote learning procedures. And so through the process, teachers are invited to think about how they're going to transition to remote learning. And then eventually they get asked about the PAC. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on PAC because PAC is a unique framework that we use. PAC is spelled P-A-A-C-C. It's the different segments that you see in front of you. And the PAC are, in our minds, the hallmark of really high quality blended learning. So first is personalization. How do we allow students, how do we create personalized learning experiences that meet the needs of all students? And how do I design my instruction that way? Second is agency. Agency is giving kids responsibility, the opportunity to participate in decisions that affect their learning experience. So agency is when kids get some control and some choice about how I go through the work. And this is really important because increasing student ownership and agency will often produce more engagement for students. The next section is authenticity. I like to think of authentic learning experiences as the assignments that I give my students. Are they real world? Do they feel like something I'm going to need to know to do? So when I'm learning the area of a triangle, I might get the measurements of my backyard, and it's 7 by 10. And I'm learning that 7 by 10 is 70. That's 70 square feet, and that means something. Okay, so authentic. Authentic audience also means a lot of times we ask kids to write. They put it in a journal and they shove it in the desk, and they don't see the point of that. So authentic audience is a great way also to think of having kids write in very visible places where they'll get feedback and questions about their writing. So there are lots of ways to do that through pen pal programs and others. So there's that. Connectivity. Connectivity is connecting kids to one another. In this time when people are very isolated, connection is more important than ever. Connecting kids to one another, connecting kids to the teacher, working in small groups, having kids collaborate together. Though all these things are important parts of learning. The other thing too that I like to remind folks under connectivity is that every content expert in the world is working from home. And so I invite you to consider reaching out to content experts and asking them to interact with your students. And finally, creativity. Give kids a chance to be creative, to make things, to do something. And, you know, I always think of our default on assessment is a multiple choice test, right? And when there are so many better ways to determine what learning's about, why not have kids create a PowerPoint and share those with each other? Have kids create different kinds of projects, different kinds of artwork, different kinds of music, whatever interest that hooks that child, and give them creativity to express what they've learned. So that's the PAC, and we spend a lot of time learning about these hallmarks of really high quality blended learning throughout the platform. Now, the cool part of the platform is Tinker. So Tinker is always a template. And the templates vary depending on the cycle you're in. So when you see in the list the artifact that you're going to create, that's what the template helps you do, okay? And the template, I'm just going to grab a template here. We have so many of them for this particular cycle, but this one is a playlist approach to a week of lesson plans. one of the most popular workshops we offer is called Turning a Week of Content or Week of Lessons into a Playlist. And this is what a playlist looks like. Students get, they know they're supposed to read for 20 minutes as an example. It might be what book, you might want to add more information, like what book. And you can also add hyperlinks, for example, to your Google Classroom or to your LMS if you got specific assignments. But here it is, complete reading log on Google Classroom, and then they're going to do a benchmark assessment. Now, I was a math kid. I love math. So I would have done all my math work the first day. My entire weeks were the math, very first day, because that's agency, right? If you're going to give students opportunity to take control of their learning and to enjoy the learning process, for me, that would have been doing the math. Now, I probably would have also, being an overachiever, made sure I did my Monday, but I'm also going to do the entire work of all the math for the week. So with that, I can use this. Now, I like to think of templates as training wheels on the bicycle. When, if you were privileged enough to have a bicycle as a kid, you probably also had training wheels on your bicycle. They're little wheels that go on the back that keep the bike from tipping over. Why is that? Well, when you're learning a new skill, it takes time to internalize, right? We mentioned this in Dr. Ball's methodology. Internalizing on a bicycle means learning to pedal and balance at the same time. And so instead of spending more of your time falling over and getting up and falling over and getting up, the training wheels keep the bike upright so that you can successfully try the new skill. And the other reality is that the training wheels also accelerate your ability to do new things and to do things quickly. So these templates are designed to help teachers try new skills safely, effectively, but also to accelerate their ability to move into these kinds of new strategies with ease. Dr. Michael Fullen, a Canadian researcher, said that the closer that lesson planning gets to teacher PD, the more successful we're going to be at making an impact on instruction. And that's exactly what these templates do. They allow teachers to use the templates in order to create their lesson planning and to get the work that they need, that they're regularly doing already, to be in these new models and to be highly effective. So with that, that's the tinker phase. And the other part, remember, is take action. Now that you've created the tinker, it's not just like, okay, upload it to the portfolio, I did it. No, it's do it with your kids. And so that allows teachers to try the new skill. And then in the grow step, teachers reflect on how did it go. So based on what you did, now that you've planned a week, what remote learning strategy would you like to try next? And somebody wrote in your playlist, which is great because I just modeled playlist for you. So what areas do you think you're going to need additional support? Were there any aspects of remote learning that surprised you or got you excited to keep on going? And so as a result, these grow questions give a chance for educators to try their new skills. Now, a cycle takes about 2 hours of PD. And like I mentioned, there are 86 cycles in the first library. There's a library on racial equity. There's 10 cycles in that one. And there are 9 cycles in another one by Catlin Tucker called Blended Learning Balance with Blended Learning. And so all different kinds of cycles that you can share with your teachers. That's the process. Video that helps begin to shift mindset, reflection, shifting mindset. Tinker is planning to try something new, and grow is reflecting on how it went. Now there's some other features here on the board that I'll show you real quick. One is the community section where we invite teachers to share their resources with each other. So put it up on the discussion board, share all those templates. There's no reason why every teacher has to do it uniquely. So we invite them to use this community feature. Also, down here are extra links and extra videos. My wife is a little tech resistant. She's been teaching for a long, long time. And she's open to trying new things, but she's not going to try anything unless she feels bulletproof. She's going to study this skill to death before she puts it, before she tries it in her classroom. She's going to, in order for her to be confident and to take the next step, she's going to Google the universe. So we've avoided that. And our coaches have already Googled the universe for all of the best auxiliary content that's available on the web on this particular topic. And we put it right here to save teachers hours of running around the internet. Also some additional videos from there. Down here in the lower right-hand corner, you see things like ISTE standards. You see a pop-up glossary. This is what playlist means. A digital learning environment. What is a digital learning environment? What does research say about it? So these resources are here. You can also see who is in the cycle with you, but you can also see that there are coaches in the platform. So down here in the lower right-hand corner, can you see down here in the lower right, you see a blue button that says need support, message our team. When you click on it, you can send a question to a coach. You know, it's very common that educators, when they're trying new skills, they'll get stuck. The average coaching time in the platform is just 5 or 6 minutes. People just have a question, they want some help. And so it'll, you know, between me writing my question and getting an answer back, it'll get me unstuck so that I'll keep moving forward. One of the big failures of experts coming into your school and they do a workshop with you, they get up and they go away. All of our experts are with you all the time, and teachers have constant access to an expert. So let's say, for example, I can't talk and type at the same time, so we're faking the typing. And anyway, I'm doing a lesson plan on combining fractions with unlike denominators. I want my kids to practice together. What tools would be good to use for that kind of thing? And I send it off to a coach, and I get a message back from my coach up here in the message center. This is the little envelope next to your, if you put your picture in here, your icon, whatever. This is where my messages come from coaches over here. So this is the message center. So I want to be clear about something. This is not real-time chat. Don't expect that. These are thoughtful experts who will respond to teachers' questions and provide supports and additional resources and point them to other things that they can do or try, or different free resources on the internet. They're going to do all of those things, but they're not going to do it in 30 seconds. There is no artificial intelligence that's filling out the form and faking it. That's not happening either. It actually goes into a queue, waits for our team, for the next team person to log in that's available, and they take all the questions in order. They come, generally it can take a couple of hours. They work 8 in the morning to 8 p.m. Eastern time on Monday through Friday. So over the weekend, it can take longer too. But sometimes their coaches will log in on the weekend and answer questions too. They'll check the queue and see if anybody's struggling over the weekend. So we have 15 coaches who work full-time just taking care of this. And they also do workshops for schools and for classes around the globe. Okay, so this is the message center. And that's what every cycle looks like. You know, if I click into this one, all of them follow the exact same pattern. All right, now with that, what else is in here? There's a dashboard, so I can take a look at my progress. These are the cycles I'm working on. These are all the cycles I put on my personal learning path. Look at that, way too many. And but I can also see the portfolio of work that I've done that's completed and turned in. So here's my pre-cycle reflection, and I can get in and see that as well. If I take a look at this platform from an administrator or a coach, there are tools in here that are different for you. So this is the dashboard. So in addition to your portfolio, if you look at it as a learner, you have all the data from the system. So in this case, this is a dummy account. So there's 552 people in it. an average of 4.8 cycles per person. Over 1,000 cycles have been completed. 12 hours per learner, total of 2,500 hours. Pretty cool, huh? So that's the dashboard. I can see how much use is happening each week. I can also see what are the trending cycles. The most popular is collaborative class contract. And also as a coach, I have access to this coaching button which appears, and what it allows me to do is to actually log in and see what other teachers are working on. So as a coach, I can give them feedback or encouragement and support. So I'm going to take a look at Asia Grimes here. Here she is. And Asia, when I click on it, it takes me off to her portfolio. And I can message her using the little envelope up here. And I can take a look at her reflection. I see she's got a bunch of reflections. And in some places, she's got a reflect like this one. She has a reflect and a grow, but no tinker template. I don't know how she did the grow without the tinker template. So as a coach, I would reach out to her and see, maybe does she have it? Did she have trouble uploading it? And so I would just reach out to offer her some support about tinker templates. So that is the entirety of the platform, but it doesn't stop here. I'm going to go back to the website for a second and go to LinkSpring Live. So I'll tell you a story. We had a lot of teachers doing a lot of cycles, and they enjoyed the cycles, but occasionally they kept saying, you know what, I really miss going to a real workshop. I miss having a coach in the room in real time teaching me. I want to be part of something like that. So we created this thing called LinkSpring Live, and we include it with LinkSpring. So when you purchase LinkSpring, you have access to the LinkSpring Live, and you just go to the calendar. You can actually look at it now. Asia will put the links in the chat, and these events are open to you. Okay. And we invite you to bring your educators and to join us. So this is Leah the llama, who's here to help us out. Anyway, that's our support team. So you can see here a list of upcoming events: 27, 28, the first. Look at that, there's 5. I know why. There's Chancellor's Day in New York City. So one of our biggest customers is having a full in-service day. So they asked us to do a whole week, a full day of schedules from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, workshops that day. So here's LinkSpring Live, and they'll just click into these and they'll attend. They're open to the public and are marked blue. So you'll see there's really 4 kind of events. One is open to the public. Expert speaker is 4. The green and the yellow are related to cycles. One's called a LinkSpring Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is just 30 minutes long. And in those 30 minutes, they walk teachers through a cycle. It's designed like a trainer for me going to the gym, right? So they're there to accelerate and keep you focused and keep you on path and make sure you get a cycle done. And those are for all different cycles. And then the yellow ones are same thing, but it's full hour. It's related to a cycle, but it's an hour long and it has more tinker time. So you're going to have time to actually do the work during that session. So the real value proposition for LinkSpring is asynchronous learning, 100+ cycles in there available for you to take a look at. Second, coaches to help your teachers that are available all year round. Third is LinkSpring Live events. And by the way, if you can't make it on the calendar date, you can go to LinkSpring Live and pull down to the on-demand list. And the on-demand list, Asia will probably share this link with you as well. The on-demand list is over 400 recorded workshops. So the workshops that you missed are all been recorded and put into the library. So in addition to all the cycles and the access to a coach, and by the way, those same coaches delivering all of these workshops live or in recorded format, it's a very robust professional development offering designed to actually shift and change the way teachers teach by providing them new strategies. If you looked at the library closely, you'll notice there's not a lot of content there around curriculum. Everybody's got different kinds of curriculum. We're very focused on pedagogical processes. So because you can use pedagogical processes no matter what curriculum you buy. But of course, we're building cycles now with our partner, McGraw Hill. And McGraw Hill has a number of really great digital products that we highly recommend to our school partners. And so if you're looking like at their digital products in science and literacy, we're building cycles now to teach you how to use ALEX and integrating ALEX into the classroom. I believe it's Inspire Science is also in development. So we're working closely with our McGraw Hill team to create cycles that align to their products so that you can accelerate teachers' ability to use those in the classroom. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to invite Parveen to put up the contact slide that she's got, so you know who to follow up with. And I'm going to ask Asia to, pitch any questions she happens to have at me. So, were there any questions that people in the audience wanted to know more about?
Just before we go on to questions, thank you so much, Scott. That was a great presentation. Just Afsana, do you mind putting up the contact? There we go, almost there. Just one more, yeah. So
there we go.
This is the contact slide. If you wanted to get in touch with us at McGraw Hill, this is the information you'll need. We also have everything about LINC on our website as well for you, as well as a inbox that you can send any kind of queries to. And of course, stay connected with us on social media, on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. I have had a few questions come to me directly, and I don't mind firing those at you, Scott.
All right, great.
Yeah. So a couple that have come through, just a good segue from your mention of ALEX and Inspire Science. Someone did ask, can LINC be used alongside any McGraw Hill K-12 programs we are currently using? And I believe you've just mentioned that we've got ALEX and Inspire Science cycles in the works. Could you give us a little bit more information on that perhaps?
Yeah, I'm expecting them to be out in the next 30 to 60 days. That they're not far away from being released, so those will be available soon. Those will help teach. So a lot of teachers have gotten ALEX, but they really don't know how do I incorporate ALEX into my day-to-day lesson planning? And so that's really the piece that the cycles are really designed to do. If I'm not used to teaching in a blended format, now I've got this wonderful science curriculum, but how do I think about lesson planning? How do I change from, I'm used to being up front and delivering the lesson, but now the content is right here and it's digital, and how do I structure my lesson planning around that? So that's really the work that we're trying to do. And then the other digital products that McGraw have will follow close behind.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for that question. Another question we've got surrounding pedagogy. So how does LINC tie in with the pedagogical frameworks of the materials we use and teach? How does the research behind it correlate with that? I think we touched on it a little bit towards the beginning of the session with Dr. Anithya Ball's research. Maybe we could just give a little bit more on the pedagogy side of things.
Yeah, so we're proposing a pedagogical shift to some degree, which is really what we would call 21st century skills, right? Now I realize we're 20 years into the 21st century, but the goal pedagogically is to shift kids' responsibility to learning so that they're actually prepared for the workforce, the workplace. So pedagogically speaking, the dependence on a teacher feeding you information all the time is something you don't get when you're in the workforce. So teaching students to do authentic research, to compare, contrast, build higher order thinking skills, these are all things that align with both the curriculum and all the standards, international standards for IB schools, as well as the US curriculum schools, as well as schools that are following. I know there's some international schools that follow what in the US we used to call the Common Core. So all of those pedagogical approaches are aligned and consistent. There won't be any surprises.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for that question. Another one that's come through, can you customize your own cycle, or are there pre-made lists based on a certain professional development theme?
Yeah, so in the platform, if I'm logged in as a learner, or I'm sorry, a coach, or a coach, so I have the management tools, I can go to cycles and assign them to people. So you have the assignment option. Mm-hmm. One of the other features that pops up is if I go to the cycle library, I didn't get a chance to demonstrate this because I was talking too long, but you can make your own cycles. So let's say as a leader in a school network, you want to build some training that you're going to push out to across your school or across a whole network, for example. You can build cycles in the platform. They look a little bit like they're just little boxes, and you just add in the Tinker template, and you upload the questions, you type them in the questions that you want, but you can build your own cycles very rapidly, upload and create a video with your iPhone, and add that to the Spark video spot, and you're good to go. You can make your own, and we offer workshops regularly through LINC Spring Live on how to create your own content. So all those are there. The other thing that you can do is you can ask a LINC staff person to put a copy of content into the platform for you, and then you can edit it. So for example, if you like the cycle, but you want to tweak the template a little bit, or you want to change the reflection questions, you can actually go in and edit and customize the content to make it your own.
Great, thank you very much. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions. I know that Scott has got to rush off to his next meeting in 2 minutes, but we also have Asya here to continue if everyone can stay on for a few more minutes to get through the questions. Next question is, what is the recommended number of cycles you should do to get the most out of the platform?
Well, so the reason why we produce a huge catalog of cycles is so you can offer personalized learning, because every teacher's got a different skill level. And so you're going to need a range of content in order to be able to personalize for a lot of different needs. The average is probably about 5 or 6 cycles a year. Only you can decide what's the right return on investment for what what you expect. But the average is about 5-6 cycles a year. Now, there are ways to accelerate this. One is here in the US, where we have teacher unions. We see districts, for example, working with their teacher unions to get some kind of agreement about how much we're going to do. In Boston, for example, they all agreed in the next week. They had an in-service day, so they wanted everybody to do 5 hours. So part of this is also learning to rethink. Now that you have this scalable methodology and the ability to coach through the platform, one of the things that we teach leaders is, how do I think about scalable PD, and how do I think about doing my PD differently now that I've got this kind of now I got a platform to do it with. And so you'll see in the leadership courses on there, thinking about how do I change my thinking around PD, what PD is, and how teachers get PD done now that I have this kind of a platform available to me.
Great, thank you. I've realised we've just hit the 4 o'clock mark. So if anyone does need to drop off for other commitments, please do. Thank you so much for attending, and there will be a recording that will go out if you have missed any of the final questions that we go through now. I think we've just got a couple left if everyone's okay to stay on. One of them is, can you track progress from day 1 of using LINC to day 30 and compare how teaching practice has improved?
Yes, so you'll have to track. So remember, we're not in the informative realm. So we're in the transformative realm. So there's no pop-up quiz at the end that asks you questions that you can say, okay, I signed off on this. Where you see the change is in the classroom, right? And what I would do if I was the leader is I would have teachers say, okay, I'm going to try these new skills and invite people to come see them, even when you're trying them, right? So that you're there feeling supported and encouraged, and you create a culture of innovation in your school. Again, teaching, we offer workshops for leaders on how to do this. And so yeah, so you got 30 days, teachers completed a cycle. 30 days, you may not see a quick bump, but you'll see specific strategies where changes started to happen, right? And you're going to see teachers trying new things. So I'd want to say, okay, if you're going to switch to this model of moving off the stage on the stage to a blended learning model, which skills are you going to try? When are you going to do them? And I'd like to come see, right? And then you should see ongoing evidence of that in the classroom. So the goal is not to answer a quiz or to complete a lesson design, but actually to see it showing up in the classroom. And I would just be very upfront with my teachers. That's the intention. So we're going to look for this in the classroom, so that when you then go do an observation and you get feedback and you don't see any difference, I'd want to ask them, what cycles did they do? What did you learn? How are you going to apply it? What's your strategy going forward? Because I'm not seeing it yet.
And
Right.
just to follow up with that, Scott, I was just going to say, practices like this actually encourage a learning community. I put that in the chat as well within your school, so we're learning from each other, providing feedback, but that's the best way, is to have somebody come visit your classroom. It doesn't always have to be a coach, but it can be a peer as well, wherever you're comfortable in getting some honest feedback on your lessons.
LINC also has a really cool culture kit that we do, where when you finish the cycle, you print it out, that cycle that you did, and you put it on your door, and then the teachers get jealous of each other and all the little things they have on their door, and it's kind of fun. And we also encourage principals and heads of school to give away the Golden Plunger Award for the biggest failure that you try. So we acknowledge that internalization takes time, and that you're not going to be perfect at these new skills overnight. So we have to recognize failure in a creative and fun way that encourages people to take risks. So the Golden Plunger Award is something a lot of our schools do as well. So there's a culture kit that we will provide you.
That sounds awesome. And final question that we have is, do you have any case studies or success stories on LINC?
Yeah, so I would invite you to go to the website again, and I'll see if you'll dig up the link for them. I'm scanning myself under resource. Nope, it's not there. Under success services, which is in the navigation bar at the top, go to the very bottom, pull down, it says case studies. And you can, there are, I believe, 5 case studies there that you can pull down and read about how our various school partners have used the platform.
Perfect, that's great. Well, I think that concludes our Q&A portion and our webinar for today. I just want to say thank you very much to both Scott and Asia for taking the time to join us today. I know I may have stole your thunder slightly there with the question and with the question section, Asia. Sorry about that. But thank you so much to the attendees for joining and for taking the time out of their busy schedules at the moment. I hope that you took a lot from the session, and we will be sending out a recording as well for you to return to in the next few days. We're also on hand to discuss LINC further with you, so please do not hesitate to contact us. by the.
Reach out to Emma. I'm going to just interrupt 1 second. Please reach out to Emma, because I think one of the things you'll be surprised is how affordable the solution is. We're on a mission to change teaching and learning, and so we do our very best to make this product service as inexpensive as possible. And so Emma will get you the pricing that you need for your school.
Yeah, that's correct. If you're in the UK or Europe region, you can definitely reach out to Emma with her contact details there. If you've joined us from elsewhere around the world, we can definitely put you through to your correct representative to talk you through all those options. We've also added our inbox there on the bottom, marketing.emi@mheducation.com. Any queries you have, feel free to drop it onto that inbox. And also you can head over to LINC's website, linklearning.com, and also our McGraw Hill LINC page, which is also there for you. So that is all from us. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you all have wonderful evenings. For Scott and Artia, a wonderful day, because it's just started for you. But thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.